Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this special council meeting. Because it's a special council, there's no ceremonial element to this, no prayers or processing in, so we'll crack straight on with it. Before I start, I'd just like to welcome all the staff who've come along to listen to what we discussed tonight. Hopefully our conclusions will meet with your approval, and also welcome the leader of Malvern Hills District Council, John Gallagher, who's also here to observe, and hope you're interested in what you hear. So, cracking straight on, can we go to declarations of interest, please? Do we have any? I will take that as a no. Apologies for absence, Mel.
Thank you. We have apologies from Councillors Arnold, Dawkes, Duffy, Hartley, Herdman and Sims.
Okay, thank you. Right, in that case, we'll move straight on to the substantive item for discussion this evening, the Local Government Reorganisation Options Appraisal, and over to the leader to introduce this.
Thank you, Chairman. Evening, everyone. I hope you all had a great summer, although obviously today we've had the first day of autumn, I think, going by the weather. We all know that we're here tonight for a really important decision. This will mark a once-in-a-generation move, perhaps, to reform local government. If the government do push ahead, this will be significant. But it's happened before. In 1972, Peter Walker, Secretary of State for the Environment, steered the 1972 Local Government Act through Parliament. It was this act that created Wychavon District Council. Peter Walker later, Lord Walker, was MP for Worcester, which at that time included the County Borough of Worcester, the Borough of Droitwich, the Rural District area of Droitwich. He did a really good job in creating Wychavon District Council, and we can testify for that now after 50 years. And we believe now we still do operate for really good services and low taxes. We're all very proud of Wychavon and the record we have delivering our value to our residents. So one of the things at the core of what we discussed tonight is how we can really retain that Wychavon brand and Wychavon ethos moving forward. We did not ask for this. It is a centralist government directive to us with very little time to plan appropriately. Even last week, there was a BBC report saying their assumptions, the government assumptions, were not even costed correctly, and they have misled their direction. There have been constant changing guidelines being drip-fed right through the time. 1 minute they say a minimum population must be a population of 500,000, then they say they are flexible, and it's for local communities to decide. The government are clear that Wychavon, with other districts and the county council, must disappear to make one unitary, and they are asking for our preferred input on how this should be done, although we know they will ultimately decide. This is causing a lot of extra work and debate, and whilst the government say it will simplify and reduce costs in local government, they are looking for unitaries to then form parts of strategic authorities with mayors. How can this reduce costs and be more local? Decision-making will be further away from our residents than now. Big county council areas like adult social care and children's services are national issues, which are affecting the funding position of most councils across the country and need government solutions to reduce demand, improve services, improve supply and costs. Without this change, then demand will carry on increasing and further added costs on local authorities, whatever the solution. The government just dithers and dithers. There was a commission on adult social care reform announced by the government when they were elected, the Casey Review. This is expected to identify key issues facing the sector and recommend changes designed to create a national care service. But this is not due to issue until at least 2028, just before the next election. The government spending review includes a £555 million investment in children's social care reform to help keep more children within their families. Really good news. However, more information is needed as soon as possible on how the investment will be spent. It's vital that it supports the urgent delivery of improved financial, practical and emotional support for all kinship carers who step up to keep children within loving, stable homes and out of the care system. But again, they dither. Wychavon has been operating, as we know, for over 50 years and largely been very successful with a high reputation and one of the local lowest council taxes. It was Council of the Year in 2007 and usually considered one of the top councils year by year. It was the first council to build a hospital since the NHS was created and has over the years been highly innovative and businesslike, with a great team Wychavon ethos and a can-do culture, which is not clearly evident in larger councils. The Shape Worcestershire engagement showed 57% for a North and South solution and 22% for one unitary. Staff, parish councils and focus groups were largely similar, and we know 17% didn't support the change at all. Wychavon is the largest district in Worcestershire, and it touches all the other districts. It is the only district to do this, but that shows location matters. If you're more rural or even on the edge of Wychavon, such as Bredon or Broadway, there is little recognition of the north of the county. I'm sure some of you will say the engagement was a small sample and residents don't fully understand what each council does. But it is what people are saying, and it shows residents value Wychavon and want their council and councillors to be local. Local, as we know, strongly matters, and designing services from the bottom up instead of the top down is the right way to progress. I have previously advocated a one Worcestershire, largely due to the government saying there had to be a rigid 500,000 population, and there being large service areas which are not easy to split. The government guidance clearly states to not disaggregate and then reaggregate, but over time the government goalposts have changed and different guidance given. That has allowed different options, such as a consideration of shared services. I started to mention a possible hybrid solution whilst the Mutual Ventures report was being developed, and you can see the emergence of B2, a north and south split with shared services for key service areas needing a pan-county level service. I am, though, tonight not supporting B2, as Mutual Ventures detail a prescriptive list of what is to be shared, and I think we need more time to work through and look at how we can transform services and give better value to residents. If this is to happen, then transforming public services presents a tremendous opportunity. That work will start tomorrow if you support the amended resolution that I put forward tonight, and will start to form the basis of Wychavon's submission to the government for the 28th of November deadline. This can be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to look at how we can change public services and deliver even better value to our residents and hopefully cost savings. I was Cabinet Member for Adult Social Care when the last elections were held at County, and I do believe some improvements can be made with a two-unitary split, such as the preventative work involving community teams and housing. Adult Social Care's goal is to keep people in their homes longer, independent and in their homes longer. And with local community work, housing and disability-funded grants, this could possibly help attain better results. Highways has often seemed an untouchable area, but counties split the highways liaison officers by district, and their work could significantly support a local place agenda and more empowerment and support. Education often seems centralised and remote, but with a more community approach could support better connections, SEND provision and youth activity. These are just a few, but the opportunity is there to transform. If we go for one Worcestershire, there is a risk. We do not transform the larger services to the level they could actually be. There may also be backroom services we could share to reduce costs as well. After all, we have a good experience of doing this with Malvern Hills District Council. The government set out 6 criteria, and you will see the Mutual Ventures assessment. There is no doubt that one Worcestershire may make the most savings, but we should also be looking at better services and retaining a local feel, which residents clearly want. Remember, we did not ask for this. It has been dictated by this government. We want to preserve all the great work Wychavon delivers. We are here to do the best we can for all our residents and remain local. If we have to change, then I am advocating a South Worcestershire Council, but look at transforming services to take advantage of locality and our ability to Wychavonise and to deliver value, but also consider shared services where that delivers best outcomes. We would need to ensure any shared service is managed effectively with excellent governance and accountability. At the end of the day, we can say and agree what we think may be right, but it will be the government's decision on the way we ultimately progress. Our opportunity is to be present, to present what we believe is best for our residents, and look at how we can further improve services and value. So here tonight, I move the following amended resolution and seek support. 2.1 publicly states that changes to the local government structures are mandated by the national government, and the Worcestershire local government community is having to work at speed to meet the government challenging timeframes. 2.2, thank officers for their extra work on this, and also note that the Local Government Association considers the Shape Worcestershire work to be an example of best practice for public engagement on local government reorganisation. 2.3, thank Mutual Ventures, residents, town and parish councils and stakeholders who engaged with and supported the work leading to the report presented tonight. 2.4, agree that our preferred option is for 2 unitary councils to create a South Worcestershire Council and therefore a North Worcestershire Council, and in working up the proposal for the 2 unitary council model, this council would want to consider the benefits of appropriate shared services arrangements, which can help to bring transformational change to public services and deliver service improvements and savings for Wychavon residents. 2.5, ask the Chief Executive, in consultation with the leader and executive board member for local government reorganisation, to pursue the council's preference for developing a proposal along with other councils for a new unitary local government structure in Worcestershire for submission to the government by the 28th of November. 2.6, engage consultants as necessary to assist with the preparation of this proposal and agree a budget for the council's share of the cost of £50,000, with the unfunded amount being financed through general balances. 2.7, ask the Chief Executive to bring back a further report to a special council meeting on the 19th of November 2025 to consider the council's submission of a proposal for a new unitary council government structure in Worcestershire. Now, it would be good if we could unanimously agree tonight. I think that is the best we can do for Wychavon and for our residents. And vote for our residents, vote for Wychavon, vote for the opportunity to transform public services, and vote local. Local matters, and we need to send that message to the government. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Middlebrough, I understand we should second this.
Thank you, Chairman. And following on from our leader's proposed recommendations as amended, I just want to review the information we have before us tonight. Because before we take this important decision, remember, it will see the geographical entity of Wychavon disappear. But we want to embed the Wychavon ethos, Wychavonisation is the word used, to the approach of the new organisation that may emerge. I'm sure all of us will say we don't have enough information on which to take a decision. What we have is a straitjacket of 6 questions the government want us to answer. Just 6 questions. There should have been many more. Why only 6? Well, I can surmise that the Prime Minister is only interested in cash. He wants cuts in Shire Counties' areas spending to rescue his Chancellor's sinking financial strategy. The Deputy Prime Minister wants rid of local democracy to concrete over Greenfield, England, with a planned 1.5 million houses. Get rid of planning committees and silence residents' views. Now, turning to this format that we've got, I must congratulate Mutual Ventures for their comprehensive exercise and especially for their presentation in a visual form. I did like the final summary with the coloured dots on it, and Quite frankly, it shows to me, and I'm sure to most of you, that there's no real difference between the options, save for two areas. If we look at the second and third questions, they were the right size to achieve efficiencies, improve capacity and withstand financial shocks. And then the other one was prioritise the delivery of high quality and sustainable public services to citizens. These show that a straight north and south split without an element of shared services would be financially weakest. There was a red dot there, if you remember. In the recommendations and amendment that we have tonight, this is covered by developing appropriate shared service options and transforming the delivery of those services to improve our residents' lives. For question 1, that was the establishment of single tier of local government. The colours are equally balanced in that summary chart. A single tier of local government does make sense. It already exists in most of England. How often have you been harangued? You sort it out, you're the councillor. Residents think there is a one-stop shop and a unitary council will provide this. But there must be sufficient councillors per head of population to be able to do the job efficiently and diligently, ably supported by town and parish councillors. Looking at questions 4 and 6, how councils in the area have sought to work together in coming to views, meeting local need, and is informed by local views. New unitary structures should enable stronger community engagement and deliver genuine opportunity for neighbourhood empowerment. This report shows that a one unitary approach is weakest here, and I'm sure we all agree on that. As Wychavon councillors, I believe all of us support and cherish our role, which brings us close to residents, businesses, charitable groups and town and parish councillors to help them steer through the maze of local governmentese. We support their right to have their views fairly heard and dealt with. Town and parish councils do vary from time to time in their performance, but they are close to residents in the hamlets and villages, the suburbs and larger towns. They need to thrive and be supported by truly local councillors to comment and lead future changes based on their community knowledge. Question 5, ability of new unitary structures to unlock devolution. This is the government's master plan to exercise control over local government in England by imposing a mayor's strategy directly on local councils. The rationale of the 6 questions, and only 6 questions, is to justify this. It's a pointless question in the circumstances. Much of Wychavon's success falls outside the government's 6 silo questions. We need to identify our successes and express them in the Wychavonisation agenda before any response goes to government in November. The risks to our communities must be exposed to government, especially those in the planning world. Finally, I haven't mentioned figures, others will do later. In the report, only absolute figures are shown. These actually mean little to the public and even to some of us. 89 million, what does it mean? I've distilled the figures and they show that the difference in savings per head of population between a north-south split with appropriate shared services will be £12 and a single unitary. Yes, so that's £12 difference. And yes, £12 per year less than a single unitary option. Well, I think £12 a year per head of population is a price well worth paying to keep more local democracy for our residents. So I second the recommendations as amended.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Middlebrooke. I've already seen a number of fingers kind of gesticulating in my direction for people who want to speak. I will try and take people in the order that I've had them, but apologies if I don't get them quite right. Vic's already got a list and I've got a list, but our lists disagree already at this point. But I believe the next person to speak will be Councillor Rob Adams.
Mr Chairman, I'd willingly give way to the Chairman of Scrutiny before me, if that's all right.
Okay, in that case, it's over to you, Councillor Homer.
Thank you, Chairman. So, like the leader, I want to emphasise the point that this is being done to us. It's important to remember what's been achieved in an extremely short space of time from the public engagement, town parish consultations, the staff engagement, the mutual ventures report, and the scrutiny workshop that we conducted just 2 weeks ago, all of which is testament to our officers and the way that we do things here at Wychavon. Despite the level of detailed work and supporting evidence we will put forward to the government, ultimately, we are only making a recommendation. It will be the government, despite all its talk of devolution, that mandates from up high how we can proceed here in Worcestershire. As I mentioned 2 weeks ago, we had a productive and informative ONS workshop on the Mutual Ventures report specifically and their recommendations put forward and the criteria that they used to deduce those recommendations. The key takeaway from this was that despite some of the theoretical nature of some of the aspects of the Mutual Venture report, which is to be expected, we, the councillors and the councillors present and those senior officers all felt that it was robust enough to base our recommendations on here tonight. To that end, I support the resolution put forward by the leader. The two-new unitary model is the option that most clearly meets local needs and is informed by local views, the government's fourth criteria. Our own extensive public engagement praised as best practice by the LGA showed a clear public preference for the north-south solution, which better protects our distinct district identities and heritages. Furthermore, the two unitaries best deliver on the promise to engage and empower. As highlighted in our workshop, smaller unitary authorities feel more local. This model fosters stronger, more accountable connections between residents and the councillors, avoiding the risk of a single large authority where representation risks becoming distant and diluted. Critically, the option for the two unitaries is backed by a strong financial case which still offers significant savings. It strikes the optimal balance, large enough to achieve efficiencies and withstand financial shocks, but agile enough to avoid the diseconomies of scale that can plague massive bureaucracies. We must remember throughout this process that there is an important distinction between delivering efficiencies and generating value. Two unitaries is the option that reflects the public's voice, empowers our communities and offers the opportunity to deliver sustainable, high quality and transformed services for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Homer. So now, Councillor Adams, it is your turn.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. Thank you very much. Many of you have known me quite a few years, and I've normally sat back on debates to let younger people and myself, perhaps wiser people and myself, have their word. I've indicated tonight to speak early in the debate because I wanted to share 2 points in the main with you. I'm not a proud person. I'm not a highly educated person. And I got it wrong when this was first mooted. I went to my parish councils, our parish councils list, and told them I would support in 1 Worcestershire, where I was born quite a few years ago now. And the night after that, or then it came about, there was a meeting here at Wychavon for our communities, and I think it was something like 60 parishes were represented at. That was in about April time. I realised the strength of feeling there and that night that I'd got it wrong. I'd got it wrong because the communities right the way through, and all the surveys have been done since that, have all come out as they want a north and south. And that is the right way to go. That is where I shall be supporting this evening. So let's come back to the other point. Again, I use the word, I'm not a proud councillor. And you know, I've heard people mutter again, it doesn't matter what we say because we'll be told in the end. Is that a reason? Is that a reason? Maybe that will be the case, maybe it won't. That we don't put our views forward from here at Wychavon District Council, what we feel. To send a blank sheet back with no comments in at all, that's not the way I've always tried to do things, and it's not the way we've done it at Wychavon. So there's 2 points there. Just remember that if you were like me and you feel embarrassed about supporting One Worcestershire right at the start, before the evidence come forward and all the consultations and all the rest of it that took place. And I praise the staff, Vic, and the staff here at Wychavon for the input they put into it. You know, we have officers here at Wychavon that's second to none. And whatever happens in the future, I hope many of those people will be part of that to take forward. So let me just come back on to what I deal with here in Worcestershire. And I think there would be a great deal, and there is a great deal of support for Wychavon District Council and the officers and councillors here. Look what we have done over the last 5 years. And I think there will be a lot more people would say, we don't want change, because Wychavon, we've got a very good deal. Low council tax for year on year, 0% and all that. And millions of pounds we fed back into the communities, everything, as you can imagine, up and down Wychavon. I've been proud to go out and meet some of the people with new village halls, with play areas, you name it. Oh, we had a burial ground at one place and allotments and all the rest of it. And oh, goodness knows, it was out at Rouse Lens the other day where Ian got me sat on a chemical toilet or something out in the field. What our residents have asked us for, we have produced now. And our officers are still fighting away like they have always done. In the meeting this week, we announced, I think it was 22 or something, applications for community stars, people that work and beaver away for what we think is right. I'm going to finish at that, as I shall start to rabble, but what I do want you to do is support the motion put forward this evening. That is the right way to go, but please have your say. Please have your say so as we get a feeling right the way through the chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on my list is Councillor Emma Kersey.
Chairman, thank you. If this had been a choice with clear objectives of cost saving, fully planned out, fully thought out, thinking of all the ramifications, then One Worcestershire could be a logical answer. But this is now far from that. It's a dictated cash grab and power grab. The government has done zero due diligence, and they've changed their mind of size and numbers like the wind, and their dictate is now likely to cost money as opposed to save it. Rayner states that it's to make decisions more community-based, when the truth is that she plans to steal away power from our communities, and she will decide what is best for the countryside from her, I would say northern city, but I'm not sure what city she's living in currently. If only she could apply her tax calculations to the preposterous housing numbers she's dumped on the shires. The housing shortfall within Birmingham area is so large that it isn't known. It's not known whether it's 54, 74 or 94,000 as the shortfall. My greatest fear is that if we are in any way connected to Birmingham, those inordinate numbers will be heading Wychavon's way. And I believe that we cannot preside over anything that may enable that to happen. We need to keep our identity, our heritage and our communities. And in this changed landscape of a government that we just can't trust, the only way to protect Wychavon in this turmoil inflicted upon us is to keep decision-making as local as we can. And therefore now that absolutely means South Worcestershire. And that's what I'll be voting for this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Emma Stokes.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, for months I actually supported the One Worcestershire. Indeed, more than just supported, I actually advocated and made best efforts to convince everyone else in the chamber that One Worcester is the correct way to proceed. But thank goodness we were given the opportunity and time to engage with the residents. Clearly, the local democracy and local identity are really important to our community. Our local services, our bins or waste, our parks, our clean toilets are all areas we need to protect. We have been elected to give good services with our low council tax. All we need now is the government to actually listen to our Wychavon residents and our Wychavon community. Tragically, this unitary in the is the process in the undemocratic strategic authority and the elected mayor process. But until this is done unto us, we at Wychavon will continue to provide local services to local people for local issues, and I am pleased to vote for the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. And now to Councillor Adrian Hardman.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Yes, I do think it's a great shame that the government took the CCN report as its base and didn't do any research of its own into whether the CCN report was a true reflection of the cost savings that could be achieved. Because, of course, the CCN, the County Council Network, commissioned that report in 2019, pre-COVID, and I would suggest to you that post-COVID things have changed considerably. And we saw this week the leader of Surrey expressing some doubts as to whether actually there would be any cost savings whatsoever. We've been quite lucky, though, in Worcestershire, because following the 50 years ago split from Herefordshire, of course, we have been running a real-time example of a small unitary, Herefordshire, versus a district and county model. And as far as I can see, Herefordshire's council tax is about the same as ours. Their services are certainly more variable, I would suggest, than ours. But I was also lucky enough to go and peer review Telford, a Labour-run authority, a couple of years ago. And certainly I was of the view that size did matter. And if you looked across at where the council, where reorganisation has taken place, there seems to be a definite feel that a single unitary county is the way to go. I have to say I do disagree with that, because if we are looking for a long-term sustainable solution such as the government suggests, there is little doubt that South Worcestershire is growing rapidly. We have over 300,000 residents. In 10 years' time, I confidently predict that we will have over 400,000 residents. And time will give this model, the north and south model, the sustainability and stability that it needs. I also noticed that since I looked at this some 12 years ago, the business rates base has changed. The south now contributes more business rates than the north. It used to be the other way round. And this is because of the success of Wychavon's economic development policy that we've seen in Vale Park and around Junction 6. The issue that my residents will be concerned about is the impact on council tax. Now, there is little doubt in my view, and the Mutual Ventures does not go into this other than to set an expected council tax need of some 400, and I think it's 13, it might be 12 million pounds. But it is how that council tax bill that is distributed concerns me greatly, because I see that the council tax for districts in the north of our county is considerably higher than it is amongst our three southern districts. And therefore, I'm expecting my residents' council tax bill to rise considerably. And that was not brought out in any of the consultations because it appears not to have been considered. So the effect on residents, I think, is going to be quite considerable in their pocket if you go for a single unitary. I'm also, as I've alluded to already, extremely dubious about the cost savings. having done a fair amount of cost savings when I led the county council, it is very difficult to deliver this because it depends on the service offer that you need. And I was very concerned to hear the county talking about the county council being a continuing authority, because that will not deliver the real reform that we need. I also think it's regrettable that we're being asked to make this decision before we've seen either the budget, now delayed, I think, until the 26th of November, so we will have no idea of what the medium-term financial plan looks like, or indeed the fair funding review. But what I am guided by is, having talked to my parish councils, they are absolutely unanimous, and so are my residents, that they do not want a single electronically driven remote unit to govern them. They're not, by the way, at all keen on having an elected mayor across an area that has yet to be decided upon. So I will clearly be supporting a southern unitary, and I support 100% the proposed motion before us, that we continue to do more work on this and hopefully give examples of what this actually means in cash terms to our residents.
Thank you. Now to Councillor Chris Day.
Thank you very much, Chairman. I think in an ideal world, I wouldn't vote for either of the options that are in front of us. I would stick with having Wychavon, and I'd stick with having the county council. And that's pretty much what I said in the letter that I wrote to Jim McMahon on the 15th of January. I pointed out to him that Wychavon was a very successful council. I said that we had the third lowest council tax rate in England out of 164 council districts. I can update that now, of course. We are now the second lowest. We've actually gone up one in terms of being an effective body. And I said that we were rightly proud of our 50-year legacy. The key issue that I pointed out to him was that there will be significant pressure that adult and children's social care has put upon county councils throughout England, and that will continue, whichever shape of council we have going forward. The expansion in the cost of these services is unrelenting, and because they are statutory services, they will inevitably take precedence over other services provided by the new unitary authority. And I'm afraid no matter which one we vote for tonight, whether it's one or two unitaries, that issue still applies and won't go away until central government does do something about it. As the leader has pointed out, they've pushed a lot into the long grass, in particular Dame Louise Casey's report. I think the other key thing that we should reflect on is the meaning of the word efficiency, I suppose. It's in the reports that we've all been given all over the place, riddled with efficiency. And what is efficiency? Apparently the definition is it's the ability to produce a desired effect with a minimum of effort, expense, or waste. Sounds good. And on that basis, I suppose if you were Pizza Express or Jamie Oliver, you could say, well, I've come up with a new way of delivering my service. You know, it'll be a lot cheaper. To hell with having all of these restaurants all over the place. It'll be a lot cheaper if I just say, everybody's got to turn up in the centre of England and I'll feed you all at once. It'll be lower cost, cheaper for me, more effective. I'll get the same result because everybody's still fed, right? And I think that's the problem. The difference between efficiency and that other E word, effectiveness. Because effectiveness means the degree to which something is successful in producing a desired result. Of course, you could feed everybody in the centre of Derby if they were all willing to go there and go to your massive Pizza Express that you'd serve them a cheap meal at. But it wouldn't be very effective. And nobody would do it because everybody has a choice when it comes to where they eat their pizza. But not everybody has a choice as to where their local services come from. And of course, as has been pointed out by Councillor Middleborough, the choice we're given has been tightly described within 6 questions, which we're not allowed to stray from, and we're only given a couple of options as to what we actually do end up going for. And I think it has been very enlightening to see what both our employees and our parish councils and our residents have said about the two choices. And I think when you get a result coming back like that is so definitive, so massively different, and so biased in favour of one of those, you simply have to take notice of it. And I'm delighted that I believe that we have, and in this motion we certainly are taking full notice of those sentiments, because they talk to the things that matter. They talk to localism and not being remote. They talk to tailored policies, and I think they talk to ultimately better grant targeting and funding. And for those reasons, I am very happy to support the motion. I'm delighted to see Councillor John Gallagher here today. I had many happy discussions with him and Councillor Lynn Denham over the 3 or 4 months that we were discussing this issue. And I know fully well where their gut feeling was. And I have to say, they got it right. You know, they looked at localism first and they worried about the money and efficiency second. And I'm afraid as an accountant, I possibly failed on that front, because I perhaps put the value of things second to the cost of them. So for that reason, thank you, Chairman, I will be voting for the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Day. Lest we be accused of favouritism, I should point out that other pizza restaurants are available. And we go now to Councillor Charles Tucker.
Thank you, Chairman. First of all, I'd like to support what Councillor Stokes has said to us tonight about the importance of local services, and that's what we're here to deliver. So I'm not going to enter into any political polemics about what the aim of the national government. But I do want to take account of the fact that, as I read it, the aim of the national government is to devolve, not to councils, but to the mayors. And the mayors are the level to which devolution is expected to take place. Where does that leave us then, if there is a mayor at some point above us? If we're in a single council, where's the voice that we can have at that mayoral level? It's not as good as if we have a two-council set up within Worcestershire, with, indeed, as one would expect, each council to be properly represented in a body advising the mayor and taking part in discussions over issues which are being devolved from national government. So I think we need to have this we need to have a two-council option in order to ensure that the south of Worcestershire, and particularly Wychavon, is going to have a voice with wherever the mayor is and whoever he or she is when the diktats come down from on high. I've always been inclined towards the two-council option for the reasons that Liberal Democrats very much prefer to see decisions taken at the lowest possible level, and that our residents should be consulted fully and be involved in the decisions. And I think it's very important that when you look at the number of residents that are likely to be represented by individual councillors, that fails quite badly in the case of the single council, where we're looking at more than 6,000 residents per councillor, whereas in the two-council option, we're looking at something like more like 4,500, and there's quite a significant difference between those two figures. One thing that I would like to hear a little bit more about tonight is what the proposals are, what the suggestions are about shared services. I thought we had got a clear understanding that we were talking about the three main services which the county council provides at the moment. But I'm not sure, because we've been talking now as well about the possibility of a greater efficiency or a greater effectiveness, and I take Councillor Day's point about effectiveness, of keeping large services within the unitary councils. So I'd really like to have some feedback tonight from the board on how you think we should be looking, what you think we should be looking at, and how you think it might progress Is this something where there is significant debate between ourselves and other councils, a disagreement there, or are all councils within Worcestershire approaching this in the same sort of light? So please could we have a little bit more about that tonight before we vote? But I shall certainly be supporting the amendment that is on the table tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Tucker. I think the leader will obviously sum up at the end of the debate anyway as the proposer, and I'm sure he'll take into account the questions you've asked on that. Next on my list is Councillor Boatwright-Green.
Thank you, Chair. And if I had just reflected upon the first time we discussed this, I've got to be honest, I was ready for a fight, so I'm kind of glad we're not. At some point, we've all had to explain where or what a Wychavon is. And usually people who are not from the area usually regret it because it's very easy to talk about our area. And it's not just our towns, it's also our villages and the amazing things that happen all across our district because our people make it. And regardless of politics, we all have a close personal connection with our district. I'm really not happy to see it go in any way, shape or form, and I hope we manage to keep a Wychavonness about what happens next. But we are where we are. I have really huge concerns about this process that we are following. I'm incredibly cautious about the term devolution. This does not feel like devolution when power is being concentrated to bigger councils and regional mayors. But we have this scenario in front of us. Decisions need to be made within the parameters provided, although to be fair, we seem to have different parameters depending on which week it is. But it needs to be democratic and all stakeholders need to be involved. And at our level, this has been the case. I was incredibly sceptical as we embarked on the process with Mutual Ventures. With my county hat on, I was frustrated with being told what the outcome should be without any real evidence and no data. In fact, I've been frustrated with the County Council in general on this topic. This has not been the case with Mutual Ventures, and I'd like to commend them for their work and approach. But this could only happen because of our staff, and I have to say a huge thank you to all of them with their work on this. I know how much time this is taking up, and I know that this is incredibly frustrating because we could be doing other things. But people have been incredibly diligent, careful and patient in their approach. I also need to thank councillors, both here and at parish level. We have approached this issue incredibly clearly and non-politically. Thank you to residents as well. We may have only had a certain number of responses on our survey, but I can say that Pershore and the villages have made it very clear to me what their opinion is on this. And although the status quo is very much my preferred option in terms of what's on the table, although to be honest, I do sometimes wonder and dream about the idea of Pershore Rural coming back, I really have to say that we've got to approach this one with the two-unitary approach. It is the only option really for us. We've worked really closely in the south with our two colleagues of Malvern Hills and Worcester, so it makes absolute sense. I've compared the information provided by both PwC and Mutual Ventures, and it's clear which side has provided enough information for me to make a decision at this stage. I remain frustrated by the poor responses and opinions expressed as facts that I've witnessed at county, and it hasn't been acceptable. Yet I can't see any evidence yet of real efficiencies, and the facts that councils who have been through this process have shown that these magic numbers have not come true is making me even more cautious. I'm also not convinced that value for money comes from larger authorities. There is no data that shows a correlation between council size and financial stability, and evidence even suggests that the economy of scale peters out as you approach certain geographical sizes and populations. In fact, some of the smallest unitaries are the most financially stable because they have had to be creative, nimble, and diligent in their approach to finances. But money isn't everything, and the 6 criteria used by the government show that a north to south approach is more democratic, accessible, and balances what will likely happen with our regional mayor, where some areas of services will disappear to an on-up-high individual. Lastly, this is about identity. As a geography teacher, I know how much this means to us because we all do it. Where we are from, who we are, and our geography is a key component of this. Worcester, Wychavon and Malvern Hills, we share a common geography. And not just that, but also shared rail lines, road networks, and we even have a development plan. So this makes sense, not just for our finances, but I will thank Councillor Middleborough for pointing out that the financial penalty for making this decision is £12 per head, because frankly, I consider that money well spent.
Thank you. And now go to Councillor Rick Deller.
Thank you, Chair. I, like many others, would like to keep Wychavon, but sadly we can't. So then let's look at the proposed amendment. So does shared services work between north and south of Worcestershire? Well, WRS works, so yes is the answer to that. So if we get the reorganisation right, or the Wychavonisation right, we have a real opportunity to improve services, so they meet the needs of our residents. And that ultimately is why we are here. And this includes one of the service areas I'm responsible for, which is housing, where greater integration with adult social care could be transformational. I believe this proposal ensures we keep government as local as possible, whilst the development of the shared service model will help us achieve a transformational potential of bringing together essential services. Adult social care means more to me than I can ever share, and I feel this proposal will give us the best chance to deliver the best possible service. So I'll be delighted to support the amendment tonight.
Thank you. And then to Councillor Neil Franks.
Hi there, everyone. To start with, I mean, I agree with a lot of what's been said tonight, and there's a lot more I could say, so I'm going to try and keep it to a few points. Firstly, a few bullet points. I mean, this is not what anyone wanted. I mean, that's been said. Definitely don't want to say a strategic authority and an elected mayor. It's a huge power grab, a concentration to the top, and it's not devolution, sorry. Moving past that, I want to start by actually thanking Councillor Day. He took on board our comments early on in these discussions, wanting more information around the possibility of two Worcestershire unitaries. And that was against the backdrop of many in his party, obviously pushing for one Worcestershire. So I thought he was very good of him to sort of take on board what we said and sort of move forward with that. So thank you, Councillor Day. I also want to thank residents and staff. Their survey responses were obviously fantastic, because not just because they went the way I was hoping they'd go, but it was just they engaged with local democracy, and they helped to form people's thoughts on this. And I do think it's helped to really sway many in the room, and so I really appreciate the time they put into filling that in. One of my biggest concerns around this, and I have many concerns, of course, the economics and the services, absolutely, don't get us wrong, but there was something that has always really captured me, which was the democratic representation that this would bring. And the Mutual Ventures report really brought out my concerns that a one Worcestershire would seriously impact on the representation level, and we would have a high number of residents per councillor. And this, to me, and the councillors would have a lot more to be worried about. They'd have a lot bigger areas to be concerned about. And this would mean that engagement with residents would be more and more limited. And it would really make it very difficult for independent, small parties, people, working people with disabilities, etc., to become councillors and be part of that sort of democratic engagement. And my worry is that it would become the preserve for those with money and retirees. Therefore, that's why I would definitely be backing the formation of a South Worcestershire Unitary Council, because we have the chance to create a better resident to councillor balance. And I do look forward to working with members right across all the parties on achieving the best solution for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. And now to Councillor Mark Ward.
Thank you. A lot of what I was going to say has been said already in terms of local representation. Both Councillor Franks and also Councillor Tucker alluded to the fact that currently we have what I classify as excellent local representation, with 43 district councillors representing about 2,400 residents, along with 57 county councillors. Whatever happens, there will be less local representation. But of the one unitary compared to the two unitary, there's an ocean of difference between the two. While the two unitary offers probably about double the representation per councillor. That is vastly preferable to over 6,000 per councillor, which obviously reduces local representation. So neither option is better for our residents in terms of local representation as it stands today. However, a South Worcestershire option does provide more local representation, as has been said already. So I personally would endorse the proposal tonight on that basis, because our residents deserve better. You know, the engagement has shown that most people want a South Worcestershire option of those that have been sampled. So I will support the two Worcestershire option, the South Worcestershire option, because that is what is more democratic. And as Councillor Franks has said, a large option of 6,000 people per councillor does preclude certain able councillors from standing because of the time involved in representing those people. So to allow the best councillors going forward, whoever they may be, a more local representation must be the better option. Thank you.
Again, Councillor Robbie Raphael.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd like to support Councillor Paul Middleborough and others who have mentioned parish-level councils this evening. When we create a unitary authority, we gain efficiency, but we risk losing something that is just as vital, the local voice of our communities. Parish and town councils are the link between residents and government, the level of democracy people actually see and feel in their everyday lives. As we undergo this process, we must consider them and argue for them to receive fair funding, training for officers and members, and meaningful responsibilities. We risk creating a system that feels more distant, less accountable, and less responsive. But if we invest in them, we turn that risk into an opportunity. Parish councils bring local knowledge, speed of response, and a sense of community pride that no centralised authority can replicate. They know where the potholes are, which green spaces matter most, and how to mobilise volunteers when times are tough. Supporting them is not duplication, it's value for money. I've been a parish level councillor for longer than I've been a member here, but this isn't about sentiment, it's about fairness, efficiency and trust. A unitary authority should streamline services, not strip away local democracy. By empowering parish councils, we are keeping decision-making rooted where it belongs, in the communities we serve. So to me, the choice is clear, regardless of which option is ultimately chosen. If we want a stronger unitary, we must build stronger towns and parish councils.
Thank you. And Councillor Craig Reeves, I must say, in a previous meeting, you were inadvertently confused with a well-known singer. I was so determined to avoid making the same mistake that I almost promoted you to Chancellor of the Exchequer by mistake. But feel free to make your point.
Yeah, we do share the same surname. We won't go there. I'm quite surprised to hear, but grateful that those originally championing option A have reconsidered. When we look at the results of the resident survey and feedback from the public sector workforce here in Wychavon, there is a clear direction of travel. I've raised concerns here in the Chamber about the loss of representation and the potential drawbacks of creating a larger authority, particularly the risk of losing touch with local issues and weakening the principle of localism. On paper, the figures for option A are attractive, yet the scale of such an authority, the size of the population it would serve, is a risk to localism. So with thanks to Mutual Ventures for their 180-something page report, they've done their best to contextualise what localism and identity is to the residents, as well as the team here at Wychavon promoting surveys and holding focus groups. So thank you. And what is localism? It's not easily measured by numbers, but it holds immense value. Localism means services designed for the specific needs of an area. It means people feeling part of a community and connected. And it means identity and not just being a statistic in a vast system. It means access to services, councillors and staff who are not overstretched within the larger geography. And it means confidence that the elected representatives will make decisions shaped by the characters and needs of the communities they serve. I'm often told that bigger is not always better. And I accept that for any model to succeed, financial savings must be achieved. Presented with the two options, option B strikes the right balance. It delivers savings, better preserves the localism, and provides the strongest platform for the residents of Wychavon's future. So I believe option B is the better choice for the residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now to Councillor Angie Crump.
Thank you, Chair. Well, first of all, like everyone else is saying tonight, I want to thank the officers and the councillors for all the work that we've done and everyone's done over the last few weeks. I can't say months, it's more like weeks. It's really, really appreciated by us all, and I think, thank you very much. In our parish councils, I've been surprised by the passion of the parish councillors of which way to go, how do we go, what do we do, and them attending the meetings, which have been ideal for them to understand more of what's going on. They've appreciated the fact that it's a situation that we've been forced into. So, from their point of view, they do understand that side of things. In a time of progress, supposedly, with communication, social media, internet, mobile phones, everything that we've all got, this one unitary does not seem a way of progress to me, because to me that's sort of, as you say, less communication. That we're becoming further apart, and it's not what everybody wants. I don't see that as a way that everything else in the world is going. So the idea of having the two councils and having the South Worcestershire is an ideal way for us to be able to move forward. And as part of the ONS committee, I would like to be very much involved in helping the officers in any way that we can to move this forward for the November deadline. And thank you very much.
Thank you. And Councillor Liz Tucker.
Thank you. Sorry. I'm another of those who started off thinking one council, and that is because I suppose I've got a long history of working at the county council, well, being a county councillor, and therefore have a certain experience of prejudice. However, it didn't take me very long to realise, number one, that at the moment things are changing very fast and are not as regular and steady as they were, but more importantly, the point that has been raised that the council tax will be severely affected. I think it's almost certain that service levels will be severely affected because you've got different service levels all round the districts. And if you're running a single council, then you've got to run a fair similar level of service to all your residents. So you have both the problem of, in this area, you have the problem of substantial increase in council tax and probably quite visible reduction in the service level that can be afforded with the money that's coming in. And lastly, I think that the survey that has been done, and carefully done, does show a very substantial preference for the two council option within Wychavon. I think it's, what is it? It was Wychavon have about 35 more in the percentage. I'm not good on percents, but what I'm trying to say is a gap between the people who wanted the two-tier and wanted the one-tier. There's 35 difference between those two percentages, which is significant. And also significant for Malvern Hills, which I think is 34. It is slightly awkward that the city is the other way, in that their overall preference is apparently for single council. But when you actually look at the difference between the fors and the against, it's only a gap of 4. What I'm trying to say is that some quite narrow preferences if you go for the public vote. I don't actually think that that is the only thing that matters. Well, I know that sounds undemocratic, but I do think the ability to do good business is what matters. I think that the idea of shared services, particularly of the really difficult, chunky shared services where you find it so difficult to recruit high-quality staff in social services and things like that, because of the competition, I do see a strong desire for solving that by having a shared service, provided we can get a shared service where it doesn't become a secret society somewhere else, and there is proper understanding and visibility to the councils concerned so that they can explain to people what the hell's going on. So I won't witter on, but I definitely believe that the approach for two councils, north and south, is the best solution. Thank you.
Thank you. That's the last name I've got on my list. If there's anybody who thinks their name should have been on my list and I've missed you, or anybody who's been dithering about it and now wants to make a last minute putting their finger in the air. Oh, Councillor Beverley Hardman.
Just to say, I've always been for a two-tier because I always, when the locals I spoke to for a long time, always felt that Worcester, even Worcester County Council, was a long way away. And for some of them, depending where in the village, well, around the hill, some think Pershaw's miles away and not local, and some think Evesham's not local. So they always liked to have two. I believe, thank you everybody for all the help, the officers they've done, and everybody else speaking tonight. One thing we haven't mentioned is the savings that we're meant to have. I don't think any of us can see a single pound back in our pockets. So remember, these savings you will not see. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm not seeing any other hands. No, definitely not. So in that case, I will go back to the leader to sum up, and then we will go to the vote.
Thank you, Chairman. But thank you to members. I think that has been tremendous input, and everyone has spoken so brilliantly, and that's what we do at Wychavon, so thank you. As I reiterate, we did not ask for this. We did not want this. We wanted Wychavon. We like Wychavon. We know it can be better sometimes, but our character is and our culture is that we will always pursue for it to be better. Councillor Charles Tucker talked about devolution, and we know devolution is the government's goal within this, to have 21, 22 mayors sat around a table and to have a centrist approach to the country. And it is about the process of how that operates, if it happens. I don't personally believe that it necessarily will, but we have to be planned and organised in case it does happen. We need a voice, quite clearly, if devolution happens, to influence what is right for our area and given to our area. Councillor Tucker also talked about other councils, district councils and shared services. Well, I don't know whether you're all aware, but Malvern, as was said, Councillor Gallagher's here tonight, which I really appreciate, and Worcester also voted last night for a South Worcestershire. So we are the third one to hopefully follow that in a short while. In the north, Bromsgrove meeting is tonight and Redditch is tomorrow night. Wyre Forest do not have a meeting because they've already declared as one Worcestershire. And then in the fullness of time, we'll hear what the new administration believes in terms of Worcestershire itself. So within the south, I think there is a fair unity in the way that we should progress. Shared services, that now the government has decided that is a possible way of progressing. They cleared trusts out the way and they cleared disaggregating out the way, but said shared services was a possible way. And there's no doubt for some of the bigger services that would be appropriate, very much as Councillor Liz Tucker's mentioned. But I do believe, and I said it earlier, that there is fundamental reform that could be made in some of those big areas. There is a lot within adult social care. Okay, you can have the front door at county, as the entrance for everyone to go into. That makes a lot of sense. But in terms of some of the delivery, certainly some of the preventative delivery, there is a lot that could happen more locally. And I think we are presented with a real opportunity to try and transform public services. What a once-in-a-generation opportunity. And as councillors and elected councillors and people interested in politics, that should really be something that we are motivated about, to try and give better value to our residents and try and see better outcomes. That's not afforded very often. Thirdly, where's my number 3? Yeah. Again, like everybody, I must thank the staff who've been superb, and many have taken on additional work in a short space of time to complete what has materialised, and the senior management team as well at Wychavon. I must thank all the residents that engaged, but I'm sure, like me, all of you had many conversations with other residents that didn't fill out surveys or have a means to feed back. But they were still saying, we want services local. You know, there were the odd ones that believe it, you know, the money is the main factor and would look at one, but by far the majority it was, let's keep local. We want to be able to touch our council and have that liaison with our councillors. And Team Wychavon has enabled that. That's, you know, staff and councillors working together for the benefit of our residents. 4, I must thank my colleague to the left of me, Councillor Paul Middleborough, who, when I became leader, I designated a portfolio holder for local government review, and this gentleman has worked massively well in terms of researching, looking into things, looking what's happening across the country, which has helped inform and lead in the way that we're looking to progress. So thank you, Paul. I would also like to thank Charlie and the ONS team for all their work and their workshop, because that, I always believe in scrutiny, and that is was really helpful in terms of understanding how we could operate. After today, if we do vote with a one voice, then we will enlist a consultant, and that consultant will then enable us to build up what we look to put forward on the 28th of November. That will include, hopefully, some of that transformation that I just talked about, and I think that's what we all need to be engaged in and all support. From whatever political perspective we have, we all have a role to play within that for Wychavon and for our residents. That is the opportunity to transform. And a lot of the discussion tonight has been about that transformation and how things could be, not how they are. And that is the next step that we need to get involved in. I need to move to my 6, and hopefully that will help us leave our Wychavon legacy as well. Because I think we do leave a brilliant legacy and want to ensure that that remains in people's memories moving forward. So tonight, I have moved, and it's been seconded, the resolution 2.1 to 2.7, slightly amended in the sense that it is B, but it's B+. It's B plus, not B2, and that is to ensure that we vote for a South Worcestershire, but we consider the opportunities that shared services present in terms of that South Worcestershire and moving forward. So I would like us to vote together, to vote for our residents, to vote for Wychavon, and to vote for transforming services for better value, and to vote local. So thank you.
Thank you, Leader. So we have the proposal before you, which remains precisely as written in the documents you had received and was read out line by line at the beginning. So we can now go to the vote on that. All those in favour? And that's unanimous. Thank you, everybody. And that concludes this evening's meeting. Thank you all for giving up your time and coming along tonight. And let's see what happens as we go further down the line. Thank you.